What's going on, y'all? This is Attorney Gerald A Griggs. Honored to be in the spotlight, and just have a few things we want to talk to you about. Many of you have heard of the case in the Rockdale County Jail, Shali Tilson, who unfortunately succumbed to an unfortunate incident where he passed away. Well, that was not the only death to occur in the Rockdale County Jail. About 90 days later, a young lady by the name of Jamie Henry was found unresponsive in the Rockdale County Jail. And now citizens of Rockdale County are asking questions. They're asking questions directly to the sheriff, Eric Levitt, and also the chief jailer. So we're going to have a protest to bring justice for this family, but more importantly to answer questions in Rockdale County of police accountability and what happened in these cases. Now, we're not trying to assign blame at this point, but we want an independent investigation done by the GBI. We want to make sure that there was no foul play, and if there is foul play, we want whoever is responsible held accountable. So we will be joining a coalition with the Georgia NAACP, the Rockdale County NAACP, the SCLC, Black Lives Matter, the Let Us Make Men, and a host of other grassroots organizers to have a conversation at the jail. Peacefully and, of course, nonviolent, but a conversation with our elected officials. So join us Saturday at 3 o'clock at the Rockdale County Jail. It's right off of Salem Road. If you take I-20 down, make that left on the Salem Road and go down to the actual, I think it's a transit bus station thing. Make that left and come on down to the Rockdale County Jail. And let's have a conversation. There will be a rally where you can find out more information about what happened at the jail. But more importantly, there will be a march from the jail to the sheriff's headquarters to directly ask the questions and have another rally. So come on out for that. There's also other legal news that's going on. You've all heard about the issues that's been happening at the Waffle House, where there's going to be a national protest at Waffle House National Headquarters, which is here in Atlanta in Norcross. Shakisha Clemens, a young lady who was assaulted at the Waffle House by law enforcement after Waffle House staff called the police to escort her off of the premises after she merely asked for a free utensil and then asked for the information of the area supervisor of the Waffle House. Well, she'll be here in Atlanta. She'll be here with national organizer Tamika Mallory and Nissan, the general and members of the Women's March that will be present. And they will be asking questions directly to the CEO of why Waffle House continues to stand in corporate unresponsibility in this situation and not taking accountability. You can join us. That'll be June the 15th at 10 o'clock at the Waffle House National Headquarters, which is right off Financial Drive in Norcross. It's a peaceful protest. We're asking for thousands to come on out and send a message to Waffle House that we are very serious. We want them to respond the same way Starbucks responded, and that's by addressing the issue, accepting responsibility, and making this young lady whole. And more importantly, demanding that the charges be dropped in this case. So that's basically what's going on in legal news. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what do I do if I get pulled over by the police? How do I deal with these police encounters? We've seen viral video after viral video. We saw what happened in Mesa, Arizona, just recently on the latest viral video. And my response is to take this object you have here, your cell phone, and make sure you download the Legal Equalizer app. That app is specially designed to give you your rights, but more importantly to record into the cloud so the evidence is preserved for any trial or any lawyer or any law enforcement official, namely the judge, to be able to see what actually happened and to hold police accountable. In this country where there seems to be a schism between the community and the police, it's about having evidence. And that brings us to the NFL. You guys have heard about the new anthem policy where players are going to be mandated to stand or to stay in the locker room. You've actually heard from the guy who says he's the commander-in-chief applauding the owners. Well, you remember that the NFL boycott was neither about President 45, nor was it about disrespecting the military. It was about racial injustice and police brutality, and we continue to see it. So now what we're doing is we're going to hold the NFL accountable. How are we going to do that? We're going to have a Take a Knee rally here in Atlanta on July the 22nd at Mosley Park at 2 o'clock, where we will issue our demands for the upcoming football season. And if our demands are not met, then we're going to take a knee on the NFL like we did last year. Remember, the boycott started in the preseason, not in week 5 or week 6 when President Trump injected himself into this conversation. So we're going to re-inject ourselves into this conversation. It's not about disrespecting the flag. It's not about our military. We love our military and the servicemen who were placed in harm's way. That's why on Memorial Day, we actually celebrated the members of the armed forces. And that particular holiday was started by freed slaves in 1865 who started Memorial Day. So it's always been about inclusion. But what we're doing is we're going to hold our government accountable with the most fundamental of rights, that First Amendment, the right to bring your grievances directly to your government in peaceful protest. And we're calling on every member of the National Football League to take a stand by taking a knee. We are calling on all of the NFL teams, from the Atlanta Falcons all the way to the Tampa Bay Bucks, to the Philadelphia Eagles, all the way over to all the teams in California. You guys are the league, not the owners. And the fans are looking to you to lead. You need to join a social justice organization like the NAACP, like Black Lives Matter, like the Women's March, and send a message that we want real, comprehensive criminal justice reform. We want prison reform. We want the people that have been unjustly incarcerated to have their rights fulfilled so they can enter the democratic process by being able to vote again, by having their records clean, and by sending a message. And that brings me to the biggest photo op of the last week: Kim Kardashian and President Trump. It's really a shame that they would use something like criminal justice reform for a photo op. Here's the real facts. 1,731 individuals were freed in the last administration. 504 facing life sentences. So if we're really talking about real reform, and I'm glad that Ms. Johnson is free. She needed to be free. But there are thousands of Ms. Johnsons. There are thousands of Mr. Johnsons. So if you want to have a real conversation about criminal justice reform, come talk to the experts, the lawyers, the judges, the prosecutors, and the law enforcement officers, the corrections officers, about how we fix this problem. Not with photo ops with reality show stars. You need to fix the problem, and it starts with implementing the 21st Century Policing Initiative by President Obama. It solves the problem that is between blue lives and black lives and all lives. 6 principles on how we fix the community and we fix policing in the 21st century. So when you want to have a real conversation, we're here, we're ready with policy changes and goals. But if you want a photo op, you can continue to talk to reality show stars and only free one person, where the last administration freed thousands. So again, I'm just here to bring you the facts, straight no chaser, with the law. It's time for comprehensive criminal justice reform. It's time to have the conversation about racial inequality in the system and police brutality, because the videos speak for themselves. The individuals that are behind the wall speak for themselves, and they are demanding change, and they're demanding it now. So I'm the justice fighter. I'm going to bring it to you straight. I'm going to bring it to you at the protest. I'm going to bring it to you in the halls of government. I'm going to bring it to you in the courtroom. But more importantly, I'm going to bring it to you on these platforms so we can make sure we effectuate real change, change that people can feel, so that the individuals that were victims of the crack epidemic can get the same justice as the people they are saying now are victims of the opioid epidemic. So if we want to talk about comprehensive criminal justice reform, let's have a real conversation. There are bills that are in the Senate and the House of Representatives that can be passed right now. So with the stroke of a pen, you can sign an executive order today implementing the 21st Century Policing Initiative and solve this problem and bring the community together. With the stroke of a pen, you can command that the Senate and the House pass comprehensive criminal justice reform on the federal level. But if you want to keep having photo ops, we're going to keep calling you out. So again, this is not about photo ops. It's about real change that the community can feel. This is the Attorney Gerald Griggs, a justice fighter. and I approve this message. And so if we want to really have a conversation about criminal justice reform, it starts with having a conversation around comprehensive planning and implementation of policy. Because the last administration, as I said before, freed over 1,700 individuals and 540 that had life sentences by themselves. So if we're talking about one individual, I'm not going to give you kudos for doing what you're supposed to do. You know, I've freed hundreds of individuals myself. So if we want to be real about the commander-in-chief, the chief law enforcement officer of this country, you got a lot of people languishing in jails, both African Americans and Caucasian Americans. You have Native Americans, and more importantly, you got a whole society of immigrant Americans who are currently being deported by ICE that are languishing in jail. So if we want to have that conversation, we can have that conversation and not a photo op with a reality star.
Right, but she was given a life sentence without parole, and she was one of 15 individuals involved in this ring, and from what I've read, 10 of those individuals received a shorter sentence for turning on her, but she did not receive that same type of offer.
And I think that's what we have to realize in the criminal justice system. The first one to squeal gets the deal. And so typically in these RICO cases or these drug cases, they try to go for who they perceive as the kingpin. And unfortunately for Ms. Johnson, she was perceived to have been the kingpin of this drug ring. I believe it was out of Memphis, Tennessee. And she was punished the harshest after everybody turned state's evidence against her.
What can we do as a society? I know we talk about the reality star going in, speaking to the president. We have a lot of celebrities. I know you work with T.I. on a lot of stuff. And I'm really, let me look at the camera and say this, Tip, if you're watching.
Shout out, Tip.
I am so super proud of you. I've never met you before, but I'm very, very proud of you because you are using your voice to make a difference alongside Attorney Griggs. And we don't see that from a lot of celebrities that have a position, a platform of power to be able to do something like that.
Well, we're seeing more and more. Again, I don't want to downplay what Ms. Kardashian West did. It was very noble for her to open up her platform, but there are more that need to open their platforms, and there are more things that need to be done. So, you know, shout out to Colin Kaepernick and Malcolm Jenkins for opening their platforms. Of course, shout out to the King, T.I., King of the South, for opening his platform. Shout out to the King of Basketball, LeBron James, for opening his platform. But we need more. There are thousands of athletes and entertainers around this country that could use their platform to help fix the problems that are happening both in the inner cities and in rural communities. And it's very easy. All you got to do is go live and have a conversation about criminal justice reform. You know, at your concerts, and give shout out to Jay-Z and Beyonce for opening their platforms to these conversations. Of course, shout out to Oprah for always being involved. But we have people here in Atlanta that seem to not have this conversation. And we have sports teams that don't want to be a part of the conversation. So it's an opportunity for those sports teams and those sports figures. We're not going to call any names, but one of them plays in a $1.2 billion stadium that is taxpayer funded, that's cut off the west side from downtown, and the west side looks like a war zone while there is a giant spaceship sitting between downtown and the west side. So if we want to be real about social justice, get in touch with the NAACP, get in touch with Black Lives Matter, get in touch with the Georgia Alliance, and we can have a real conversation in Georgia about how we fix the problems of wealth inequality, wealth-based detention, and of course criminal justice reform, just to name a few.
I seeing Ms. Johnson's case, I actually went in to look at the numbers for 2018 of mass incarceration.
Yes.
And the report was astounding. So in case some of you don't know, I'm just going to read the numbers and let Attorney Griggs elaborate. It says this report offers some much needed clarity by piecing together this country's desperate systems of confinement. The American criminal justice system holds almost 2.3 million people in 1,719 state prisons, 102 federal prisons, 1,852 juvenile correctional facilities, 3,163 local jails and 80 Indian country jails, as well as in military prisons, not to mention immigration detention facilities, civil commitment centers, state psychiatric hospitals, where some of these people have not been convicted, and prisons in the U.S. territories. That is a lot of individuals in our criminal system.
And that's one of the things we rank the highest, the best in the world is incarceration rate. And so these are brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins and nephews and sons and daughters that are locked away. And we have to do something about this because, you know, the purpose of the criminal system was supposed to be to rehabilitate individuals. Now it seems like it's just housing them. And so we need to have these real conversations. And again, like I said, with regard to the commander-in-chief, you know, you only see 102 federal prisons, but you see 1,700 state prisons. So we got to talk about criminal justice reform on the state level, where a vast majority of the individuals are being housed. So, you know, I mean, African-American men, 1 out of 4 African-American men in his lifetime will see a prison or a jail. And then, you know, 2/3 of those will, you know, see some type of probationary sentence. So we got to talk about how we invest in our people instead of housing our people. So we need to invest more in education, and I think that we will start to see the incarceration rates go down.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show. We need to have more conversations like this. Attorney Griggs will be with us at least once a month, if not more, to talk about these issues. If we don't come together as a society, we're not going to be able to make a change.
You know, and it's truly about, you know, giving back, but having the real facts, not sound bites, not photo ops, but real facts, and talk to the real people that are being impacted. So I just appreciate you opening your platform for us to have this conversation. And the takeaway should be this, young people and people that are watching this. Your vote truly does matter. In Athens, Georgia today, and this photo is going viral, there was a young lady who won by 15 votes. She won by 15 votes, and she was sworn in with the power fist, as well as swearing on Malcolm X's autobiography. It's going viral. 15 votes. So your vote truly does count. And we have to hold the powerful accountable by electing people that will reflect the views of the community, so we can start having this conversation. You know, just last month, the first African-American female gubernatorial candidate from any major party, Stacey Abrams, was elected. This is 2018. We shouldn't have to say stuff like that. So we have the energy and the momentum going. You have to just go to the polls in November. November the 6th is one of the most important days in American history. You need to make sure you participate, because if you vote, then you get to sit on juries and you get to fix the criminal justice system by being one of the decision makers. So please, please make sure you register to vote, but more importantly, make sure you get to the polls. I don't want to hear any more foolishness about your vote not counting, because if your vote truly didn't count, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right now. So I don't hear the talking heads talking anymore about this philosophy of having a protest vote by not voting. They're the ones that are complaining about the system falling apart because of certain actions by a person at the top. So let's make sure we show up to vote.
Judge, there's a judge running, an African-American judge in Henry County.
Yes, yes. And we had our very first African-American judge elected in Gwinnett County to the Gwinnett County State Court. First one in the history of the state of that county. So, I mean, making strides, but it happens when you show up to vote. So my shout out to Rhonda Colvin Leary. I know she's probably watching. It was a great race you ran. Congratulations on being the first African-American female elected in Gwinnett County. Also, I know you guys saw the viral picture of South Fulton. City of South Fulton is completely African-American female-run criminal justice system, from the prosecutor to the public defender, from the chief judge to the chief jailer to the chief probation officer. Elections have consequences. Sometimes they go for the betterment of the community. So let's get out there and vote.
I'm sorry, Biggs, you had a question before Attorney Griggs leaves?
The question was concerning the NFL.
Yes.
And in the barbershop, where I work at. Lab Barbershop, shout out to Lab Barbershop, how you doing?
Shout out to everybody in the barbershop.
Yeah, all around the world in the barbershop. Bow! My question is, with concerning the NFL and the teammates taking this knee, I was kind of under the assumption that they did sign a contract, so it's really business. So is it really wrong if the owners say, look, we don't want you to have tattoos, X, Y, Z, we don't want you to kneel? If they say that in a contract, didn't they sign a contract that kind of states that they have legally, do they have to do what the owners say? Can they just do it on their own or legally?
Well, first off, the NFL is a charitable organization, so it's got charitable protection, so it's not really a business like a corporation. It's a non-profit corporation. So there are certain rules that they have to abide by, and we might want to look into that since they want to start infringing on people's constitutional rights. And then we have states that have constitutional protection that are higher than the federal government. But I would argue that it is a violation of their First Amendment rights. Also, there's a collective bargaining situation that the NFL is involved with the players. So the players have contractual rights to certain procedures that were violated with this anthem policy. So there are ways that the players can push back. We just need the players to stand up. I've had conversations with the players' union. I think that there's a platform for a legal challenge, but the players need to understand this is bigger than football. You know, this is bigger than a certain team saying it's a brotherhood, because when they cut you, there's no more brotherhood. So let's have a real conversation about change. We have all the way up to the first game of the preseason. Let's get together and have a real conversation how we fix this problem and we can get back to football. But if we don't have a conversation, then we might have to take other means and availability. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
All right, remember Waffle House here in Atlanta.
Yes.
The Waffle
15,
House.
15. Waffle House headquarters is right there on Financial Drive, right there in Norcross. Check out my social media at Attorney Griggs for the flyer. Saturday, we are at the Rockdale County Jail, right there off of Salem Road. Again, on my social media, I gave you the social media. It's at Attorney Griggs. Attorney is spelled ATTORNEY and GRIGGS for all of your information. Or you can go to the Atlanta NAACP page or the Georgia Alliance page on all social media.
Well, we thank you for coming out. As always, it is a pleasure. And we will have more with Attorney Gerald Griggs, like I said, once a month on this show. So we are going to take a break, and Biggs is going to take us on that break. Thank you for tuning into the Spotlight.
What's going on, y'all? We're in the Spotlight with Asir. Say hello to the people.
Hello. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, guys, I'm signing off.